You know, I kind of like it, but not for the sun. I must put that out there. The sun come outside with no clothes today, you know, like craziness. Put on your clothes every day. Anyway, guys, it's just about 10 minutes after 3, and we want to thank Bass for holding down the past 3. In Betterments with Bass. Thank you so much, Bass, for holding down. And next week we should hear from him because he's jumping out. All right. So you know what time it is, and today I'm gonna be joined by Rudolph Anamji, as this is We the Youth, and of course, guys, help me welcome him. Hello, Rudy.
Carrie V, we're back in the house.
Of course, looking fresh.
We've been getting so many requests from young people out there to ensure that we continue the conversation.
But of course,
But you know, you were very right. Today was a sauna day. It was like an inferno outside.
It was a little too
I
much
hope
for me.
people are staying hydrated.
Yeah, by water or something else.
Well,
I mean, like,
you have something there to share with.
well, no, I can't. Not in here.
Remember,
but, you
the
know,
Prime Minister drinks a lot of water. She told us that.
water is good for
She
you.
said water.
Water is good.
for you.
Oh, that little something.
She's setting the right example.
Well, of course, she should, you know.
But that's why we're here today.
Yes.
On We the Youth, we're talking about our vote.
Right.
Our purpose is to now ensure accountability.
Yeah. And that's correct.
Our
Because
vigilance. We have to be
something
vigilant.
I always ask this. Okay, we had an election, we voted. Now what?
Back to business as usual.
What can we look for? Because I am sitting here, Rudy.
Lining on the avenue on a
That
Friday
too.
night.
Well, not a Friday. Well, true, but I rather stay home because I don't really want to go outside anymore. Like anymore, so you know. Because I always tell my listeners, I don't like to go outside, and every minute I'll be looking behind my back. I don't like that. I can't drink a beer in peace. Come on. But the thing is, after we voted, after the election, then how can we as youth, be involved with the decision making? How do we get involved in the policies that all the different ministers, the new ministers, big them up, big up all yourselves, all the newly minted
With
ministers.
a lot of expectations.
Yeah, because now the expectations are high.
And remember, we said at the very beginning of this campaign that whichever government won would not have a honeymoon period.
True.
So to help us answer these questions, we're going to have two important guests again with us. They joined us during the campaign series. One of them is Dr. Shane Mohammed, no stranger, of course, to Radioland and the media. You know, Shane really began his career as a young person passionate about governance, public policy. How could we innovate in the public spaces? And he has gone on to join academia, Carrie. He's now a faculty member in the political sciences field at the University of the West Indies.
Not anymore.
He's going to correct me. I'm reading an old Bible.
Not anymore. Rudy, you'll get yourself in trouble.
Tell me.
The UE faculty would squirm if they only hear my name.
Because they lost out.
Yeah, they did.
On a gem.
Yeah, they did. I am actually, I've been at Sam's Caribbean for the last 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Teaching
That
at
is,
the MBA level.
The
School of Accounting.
School of Accounting and Management, something. Right.
So
Gotcha.
they grabbed me up, and I've been
Well, congratulations
in
to
the
them.
undergrad,
You
in
know,
the undergrad and
it's interesting.
postgrad.
You
So.
did-
Nice.
Because we are so accustomed to our academics being housed at the UE campus, and you did build a brand for yourself.
Yeah.
But my bad, I'm glad to know that that not only UE is getting the benefit of our sterling academics, because an institution like SAMS would definitely benefit from you being there.
I have a lot of fun. My students, I enjoy my students. I always tell my students, it's good. Bright is good looking,
It is. It shines on you.
I like that.
It is.
Bright is good looking. Right? But I'm so happy for you all to have me.
Yes.
And
It's
tell us a little
appreciated.
bit about things that the average listener or viewer may not know about your career or projects that you've worked on, just to give us a little more insight, because we all normally use the standard bio introduction, but I always like to give people like us an opportunity to share what they're doing, because there are younger people out there who might want to follow in your footsteps.
Well, my foundation has been politics. I started in politics maybe 17 years ago, mentored by Mr. Pandey. Grew up.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, there
direct,
you go. Well,
direct.
You can't get a better mentor in politics than that
direct.
person.
Grew up, with Mr. Pandey. Worked with the National Youth Arm of the UNC when Mr. Pandey was there.
Right.
Went on to graduate.
Don't give away your age there,
Yeah, no,
Don't
young,
give away your age there.
We're young enough. We are young enough.
Then got into active politics in the 2008-2009 period when Rudy and the from the COP and the UNC we were having a love affair, and then the
The
partnership
UNC
happened.
and the COP were having a love affair.
The UNC
Make it clear.
The
Be very
UNC,
careful,
the UNC and the COP was having a love
Shane, no,
affair.
it have plenty.
We have to keep it
It have
PG
plenty,
friendly.
It have plenty AI stuff going around, so you know how things are like to chop
So
up things up with
UNC, the UNC
and the
and the COP
were
was having a love affair,
right.
and then they had a family that was built called Partnership, and
Right.
other
Yeah.
parties came in,
Right,
and we
right.
were all part of it. And one of the things
Yes,
we
as
were young people,
passionate
we were
people,
young
we were
people.
idealistic.
Watch me. We as young people, it was probably one of the highlights of my growth in
Right.
politics.
I agree. I concur.
Having political knowledge from a practical perspective, and then having the knowledge from a theoretical perspective, I think puts me at an advantage, because
Right.
there's just a few of us that has both the practical and the theoretical knowledge, right? And then walked away from active politics and went into academia and been there for the last 10 years. I loved it. It has had its ups and downs. I mean, I think one of the things that our young people are struggling with, and we as a society, we hear the mature folks say it, give the young people a chance. But I can tell you that we've not given the young people a real chance.
True.
I
And
agree. I've seen it firsthand.
I am the youngest political scientist in this country, and listen, I feel as if I've been stepping on people's territory in
But
in
sometimes
ways.
you do.
I do.
You have to do
But
it,
you-
Carrie.
but you have
You
to.
have to take up your own space,
Yeah.
Shane.
Yeah.
Because people don't give up as easily. They hold on for different reasons. Some for good reasons, bad reasons.
Yeah.
But I am proud of people like you who accept that you have to mash a few corns.
Yeah.
Now, Shane, before we continue, I'm really interested in what you're speaking about, the academia part and politics and everything like that. What is the introduction to politics? How does that start? What is
From a theoretical perspective?
Yes, yeah.
Introduction to politics is political philosophy. So
Political
Socrates,
philosophy, right.
Machiavelli, Bentham, all of those great philosophers that would have built the foundation by which we have the separation of powers. We do two courses. It's introduction, it's Gov 1000 and one Gov 1000 and one Gov 1000 and Gov 1001. One is introduction to philosophy and political philosophy and institutions, right?
Oh, wow.
And you learn at that level about the state of nature. That before all of this existed, we were all in a state of nature, and state of nature tells us that we had no frameworks, we had no structures,
Right.
and we had to craft those structures and frameworks as we went along,
Right.
and that became philosophy. And in that philosophy, we learned how to barter, we
Right.
learned how to govern, we learned how to select a leader, how we learned how to select a council for the community,
Right.
and that eventually the state of nature started to grow,
Right.
and we have the foundations of natural law and all of that has now taken us hundreds of thousands of years to where
Right.
we are now.
Right.
So you start off with the philosophy. It's not hard, and I always tell students the best way to learn political philosophy is to understand it from a practical perspective.
Oh, right. So it's more like you're getting into it, and that's how you would learn and develop more.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. And then when you do the theoretical part of it, easy peasy lemon squeezy.
I think for me, political science, there's a lot of students that study political science. They match it with international relations, they match it with public sector management, they
Right.
match it with econ. It can go with so much, because political science is actually what people don't realize exists in corporate entities.
I could attest to that firsthand.
Right?
Firsthand.
So corporate world, regardless of which sector you're in.
Yes.
Corporate sector, private sector, public sector, politics exists. Politics as it pertains to even joining, getting a promotion.
Right.
HR is politics. Promotions are politics. Getting frontline exposure is politics. Climbing the corporate ladder is politics. So when you hear people say, "Well, I don't like politics. I don't
You're
want
done in it. You're done in it. Yeah.
You're in it. How do you move from supervisor to manager, from manager to vice president?
Right.
It's all politics, and that politics comes naturally in an organization.
Is there are there different terms of politics? Because now that you mentioned, you're in the corporate world, it has politics in it.
Yeah.
Your home and your house is politics
Well,
in one form or
People
another.
use the word diplomacy,
I teach
geopolitics.
There's geopolitics. There's also when I do my MBA, when I teach my MBA courses, one of the topics that I teach in the MBA course is power and politics,
Power and politics.
as well as leadership. So those are three elements of politics. There's power, there's politics, and there's leadership. So power and politics literally tells you about what the expectations are in the workplace.
Right.
That you can't, you have to learn to maneuver or meander.
That's a perfect word.
Yeah.
Because
Oh.
Carrie people, they say, I'm negotiating for a new position.
Yeah.
Or I am networking. As Shane is saying, what they're really doing is engaging in the business of the people,
Right.
which is building influence, creating pockets of support.
Right.
They are finding mechanisms whereby they can have the power to receive allocations of funding within an organization. There's competing interests.
Yeah.
So why would one department be more successful than another one? Why, as Shane is saying, why does maybe out of 10 persons, 2 rise and are considered for a C-suite position?
Right.
It's because they have that ability to influence others.
Advocate.
And that's politics.
Influences, yes, that's it. And then there's the thing about it is about politics is that when people don't realize that one of the fundamentals of politics is that man is as I spoke about the state of nature, man is selfish and brutish, self-seeking, right?
Never.
Man is
Never.
self-seeking,
I
selfish
second
and
that.
brutish.
I
And
second
What
that.
about woman? What about woman?
Nothing.
and
Nothing. Nothing.
Politics teach us that in that need for to promote self.
Yes.
Politics is
Yeah.
also about in the workplace, in the corporate world. When you rock back and say, well, nah boy, I go leave that promotion for he to take. No. When the promotion and when the vacancy arises, is all man for himself.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That is politics.
Wow.
Right?
So today, Rudy, I know we have a lot to discuss, and welcome Chris Hossein. He
Yes.
just joined us.
Let
That's
me
so-
introduce Chris. Again, no stranger to Freedom 106.5 FM and Guardian Media. But some people may have missed that Chris's bachelor degree, and I didn't know this until I read his bio, is not in political science, but in process engineering. And you also have a technician's diploma in chemical engineering, Chris. But we all across the nation know you as a youth parliamentarian alumni, a vocal advocate for human rights, for governance, public policy. And you've also participated in the Parl America's Climate Action Plenary. So maybe you'll tell us a little bit more about that. Because we had asked Shane to share with listeners and viewers not just your technical bio, your CV, but a few things about you, your journey, some projects you might have worked on that people don't really know about, because there are always young people out there listening to us who may want to follow in our footsteps or, get inspired. What else would you like people to know about Chris Sadiq Hossein?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, good afternoon, Dr. Mohammed, and everyone in
Today
studio.
he's letting us call him Shane.
Yeah, you
So we on first
I've had,
name.
I've had, listen,
First name
I've had.
basis.
let me tell you my philosophy about that.
Tell us.
The title doesn't define me. I define the
Oh,
title.
good. Okay.
I didn't born with the title. I acquired the title.
Yeah,
So-
go ahead.
And while the title is mine, I define the title.
You sound
right.
like Chris when he talks about his clothes.
Well, watch me. Well, watch me. The doctor part of it is part of my clothes.
Yeah, well,
There you
all
go,
right, all
there
right.
you go, there
We'll
you
settle for that.
but I think, Chris, you deserve a doctorate as well. You know, you should go for it. You should go and get it. But tell us.
So I've always had an interest in speaking up. And that
Okay.
may sound very simple, but way back when I attended San Fernando Central Secondary School, ModSec. And during my time there, I was always the person in the classroom who would be speaking the most, doing the most, interrupting the class. Mhm.
Hi, good
I
day.
didn't realize we had so many things
and
in common.
listen, all of my teachers.
I feel if you ask all three of our teachers, we might have the same thing
he
in
needs
common.
to settle down. What's so interesting is most of them who
Yes.
I still have on social media now, they're like, oh, okay, so good. He challenged and channeled that energy. into
Yes, into something.
a bit
Ah,
productive.
yes.
So my journey started when my English teacher found that I had this extra energy and I had this mouth back then, and she wanted
Back
to.
then, or?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe
It's got worse.
no productive now. And she told me that I should join the debate club. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll join the debate club. So I would have gone. It was a lunchtime. I ate my lunch and then I headed over to a classroom. I think it was Form 2 block. Anyways, these details don't matter, but it matters to me. And the debate club was herself and me.
More than enough to fill the whole room.
and then one of my other friends as well, Crystal, would have joined us.
Okay.
And she signed us up to do something which we didn't know, called the RBC Young Leaders Debate.
Ah, yes. I remember those.
Yes. So I remembered entering
Very
the
good.
first debate,
Yes.
and it was against St. Joseph Convent, Port of Spain. And most of the persons in the room didn't know our school uniform. They didn't know who we were. And it was almost as though we were viewed as, well, it was nice to have you.
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
not
we
for
look,
bringing up
we-
space.
Yes,
right?
we
look-
look complete.
Thank
They're
you
just
for
taking up a
attending.
space.
Yeah, thank you for attending. And
Wow.
at the end of that debate, we won. And so we would.
Congratulations.
Thank you. and so, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I knew where the story was going here.
Thank you. And as the weeks went on, we continued to participate and we continued to win, right?
Right.
And so, but in that process, it wasn't about winning only. It wasn't about proving a point only. It was understanding that debate is a good thing.
Right.
That
Yes.
this week we may be for the arguments, and if we would have won this week, next week the organizers would have put us to be against. So we
right.
were forced to now to understand pros and cons,
Ah, look at
advantages.
things at different
Yes.
perspectives.
So I love debate.
Yeah.
I love people who have opposing views because sometimes I leave the room thinking, okay, no, that was real. But then sometimes I leave with an opinion that I didn't think of. Sometimes I leave thinking that may be the better perspective to go with. And so that thought process or that opening of my mind carried me through much of my secondary school experience into tertiary.
Well, it's good to have
Nice.
that openness of mind
I
to
see-
accept that you might see things differently.
I also served in the student guild on 2 occasions actually, and while serving on the guild, well, we would have won the RBC Young Leaders debate, by the way. Just want
Well,
you
I was
all to
waiting
know.
for him to just
we-
throw that piece in there.
You know, we just won, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. Right? And no, but so the university I attended, which I attended, UTT,
Right.
and at that time I was doing my technician's diploma, they would have recognized that I didn't do CAPE, that in Form 5 I would have won a debate and that was on my records, etc. And so they asked me to represent the university for the Youth Parliament in 2018.
Well, that is when it happened.
That's when
You
it
were at
happened.
UTT.
Yes.
Okay.
And through that experience, and I want to always, in every space I get the opportunity, I want to congratulate and commend the Office of the Parliament, particularly the Youth Parliament, because they do a lot of work in training young people, teaching us parliamentary procedure, etiquette, dress, everything. They equipped us with more than enough that we need to debate
Excellent.
for 5
And we should
minutes.
commend the public institutions that do good work like
Good
that.
work, right? And that's why I always say, and some people say it's a privilege and it's just a group of y'all, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but
Well.
also it is incumbent on us to take it back to our communities.
That's why we're here. So, Carrie, I know we have
We
we
are
have a
gonna take a
lot
break.
more we can share with our guests, but
Yes.
we're going to a break.
Of course we are.
And when we come back, we're here live with the youth. It's our 14th episode.
Also, you're keeping track.
I am.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Well,
Very
thank
good.
you.
Yes, yes.
And today's topic is our vote, our vigilance.
Mm-hmm.
What happens after the X is cast?
Of course, and guys, don't forget you can check us out on social media on Facebook and Instagram. Follow us, and you would see the live stream happening. So, this is We the Youth here with Rudolph Namji, Dr. Shane, Chris Hossein, and of course Carrie behind the board. Yeah, we'll call it that. So we're gonna take a quick break and keep it locked. All right. Freedom 106.5 FM is just about 3:30, and that's my time check. We're gonna take a quick one and be back. Keep it locked.
Spellbound!
A spelling-based game for school children 10 years and under.
Keep an eye on the clock.
And this is the Spellbound Wheel.
Plus, your hive of 5 and 35 is.
And featuring your boy, Kirsty Illusionist.
It's on Mondays at 8.
Streaming live on Facebook and at cnc3.co.tt.
Reruns on Wednesdays at 4:25 p.m. and on Saturdays at 5 p.m. on CNC3.
Brought to you by the Ministry of Planning and Development, Harrier Fuel Trading Company Limited, Redoxitos Plus, and TheBestToys.com.
Power up your Saturdays with Carrie V's electrifying energy on Speak Your Mind Saturdays. Here, you're not just tuning in, you're transforming the show into a vibrant tapestry of opinions, laughter, and spirited debates. Get set for a day packed with the fun, the burning issues, and Carrie V's infectious personality. Join the fun, fuel the conversation, speak your mind. Saturdays with Carrie V on Freedom 106.5 FM.
It is time.
It's your time to speak with Carrie V on Freedom 106.5 FM.
And good afternoon. Welcome back to Freedom 106.5 FM. I'm Rudolph Namji, host of We the Youth, here with Carrie V, our producer. Carrie, you're in the house.
Mister, you cannot call me a producer here. That is problems. Call me.
Oh, so you understand?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
understand.
Politics. you see, and just like that, we just break it down for
Okay,
you.
she's
Right?
the
Like
war manager.
politics.
She's the war manager
We
of
will
the
deal with
program.
that. I love
Right.
that. I love that. So yes, of course, I am here at Carrie V, and we're here with Dr. Shane
Mohammed and Chris
Hossein.
Hossein, yes.
And I love the conversation so far, and I know we need to get straight into our topic for today.
Yes.
So we don't vote. Our fingers are still stained. I saw your
Yes,
fingers as well. I don't know
yes.
what, like, come on. Thank God I didn't have no nail, right? That'll be problems.
Listen, when I went to vote, the presiding officer said, well, you can dip your finger. I was like, no, I waited 5 years to this. I went and could dip it.
It had a guy in front of me. He put his
You're
whole
right,
hands
boy.
up. So,
No,
I said,
you're
oh,
right.
gosh.
It's important.
Yeah, but I mean, all
But
your
do-
5 fingers, though.
Do you know
Well.
though, that from my observation, I think this is probably one of the few elections in our history where our population had been so enthusiastic
To vote.
let a message be sent.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in different ways.
Oh yeah,
Some people did it.
and some didn't.
And that is still, I mean, I am a proponent that I think you should still go in the booth and make a choice. Although, full disclosure, in 2020, I opted out. So I could understand why sometimes people do. What was your both of you all had fairly smooth experiences in your constituencies where you voted.
Yeah, I did. I was worried that people wasn't coming out.
What
to vote.
constituencies you all
I-
voted
I-
in?
No, I came from Maloney, Trin City, and we had
So
problems
did I.
there. We had
Oh,
a
you
lot.
had a problem in
Yes,
your
we
area?
had, because the poll clerk, I think it was, they didn't hear the number, my number. You know, they have to call
Yeah,
the number.
consecutive
Yes.
So she's asking me. I was like, well, I don't know. I didn't hear number. Let's call a number 121. I didn't hear that number. And she was the next lady who was taking our ballot paper. She was saying, "You didn't call it?" He was like, "Yes." I said, "No, you never call it. You never call it. So you need to call my number." So I had to
Good for
kind
you.
of watch at things happening.
No, but that is the point.
thankfully-
You have to be vigilant.
Thankfully, I have a little understanding of how the election would go, and these things that I saw that was kind of weird, I brought it to the attention of the
Very
presiding
good,
officer.
very good.
But I think they and all didn't even have.
So
That kind of
we've
thing.
been voting. We are active in politics. We take an interest. But Chris, what about you're slightly younger than Shane and I.
I'll
Slight,
take
just
that.
a, just a,
slight.
right,
Like
Carrie?
slight, all right,
a-
like pepper. Okay,
Yeah.
slight.
But your
But have you
peers, your peers.
He
are
can't be
the-
anything 5 years younger than that.
Well, not if you look at him good, right?
Oh my god.
Today's program is going to be very interesting. But tell us, your peers, do you have to encourage them? Are they as involved as you are? The younger of the three generations? Because I guess, Shane, we are millennials.
Yeah.
Chris, do you fall in?
Gen Z.
You are Gen Z. So then you're closer to the Zs and the Alphas. What are they as interested as we are?
So the thing is, I think a lot of persons would categorize young people as one group only, but there are so many subcategories.
Yeah, they think we're all one monolithic group.
Yeah, so if you were to ask, well, the former youth parliamentarians or young people in youth leadership spaces, whether it don't even necessarily have to be youth parliament, it could be ambassadors, UN, that kind of thing, then of course they are interested. Of course they know the manifestos word for word, like it's a Taylor Swift song, right? Genuinely, I've had conversations.
Or a young brother.
Look at you knowing your thing.
Yes, keep up to date.
Very good, very good.
See how I just flipped that
Yeah,
one in there, right?
yeah.
You
we
are
saw
a
it.
Gen Z then.
Congratulations.
So that group of persons definitely would vote. For me,
Okay.
it gave me, because although I'm still new to voting, it was my second voting experience in terms of
Right.
a general election. So I would have viewed my vote as an investment.
Right.
And
Oh, interesting turn of phrase.
it is an investment.
I like that.
And you get to determine after the 5 years if you want to reinvest or
No, but that's true.
I didn't think about it like that, you know.
That's actually very good.
so that is how I view it, because to me we are shareholders of all of this, right?
Well,
But we are
yeah.
the employers.
We're the
huh?
employers.
We
And
are.
so I get to
We're both
determine if I
shareholders
want
and
to
employers.
continue with this type of leadership, whoever I voted for in 2020 or not. And I think if you speak to other young people in that youth space, leadership space, you'd hear similarities in the opinion. But then there are other young persons who are not interested in politics, not interested because of the unseriousness. I mean, now you have social media, so everything you say and you do politically,
Right.
it appears almost immediately. So we had 5 years of seeing viral moments for
Right.
good, bad, and different. And it has turned off a number of young people.
But do you think it's
based on the
because that
messaging.
the young people don't quite understand the politics
I don't
to
know
an
if-
extent?
I think I don't know if understand would be the correct word, because I think we understand that it could get toxic, and maybe.
No, but not like the seriousness of it, because we understand the bacchanal and confusion.
But here's the thing: if you and I'm not, I always find myself having to defend young people who didn't vote. By the way, I voted, but no, but
It's interesting to hear your view of their perspective.
Their perspective is
Yeah.
that the political options are not worthy enough for my
So
vote.
let me stick
Oh,
up. Shane, I
okay.
mean, these are things that you teach, and your students obviously have an interest. But you all are out there in the field. You do a lot of research, polling. Is it a similar finding to Chris, or what is the other layer you bring to it when it comes to this apathy that we
No,
tend to
listen,
see among,
I don't-
especially younger people?
That's why I tell you, 2025 was a different year. Because I did a guest lecture in UAE in religion and world politics about 2 weeks before the election.
Imagine, Carrie, they put religion and politics in the same sentence.
What? Where?
That's religion and
Two
world
things they
politics.
tell us not to speak about.
Two things I don't talk about is that.
But you can't. You cannot not talk
Not,
about it
yes,
because
yes.
religion and world politics, if you all didn't realize, the election of the Pope is religion and world politics.
There
Well,
you go.
Oh, gosh.
But sorry, we
Right, but no,
digressed a
we
bit.
still learn and we
Yeah.
teach it still. So I did a guest lecture on religion and world politics about 2 weeks before the election, and the students, because this had been in that semester, in the semester that just finished, I normally do 1 or 2 guest lectures in religion and world politics. I mean, Friday evening, we go and we talk religion and world politics, and yeah, I enjoy that. And it had been the second time for the semester I'd been there, and the election heat was really high, and
Of
they were
course.
just excited because after we finished the lecture, we had a little bit of time, and out of curiosity, I said, "So y'all voted? How much are you going to vote?" And in a class of maybe 40 people, all hands went up. And I was floored. I was like,
That's encouraging.
You're gonna vote? And they were like, yeah, we're going to vote. And one person stood up and she said, because we need change and time for change. And I said, and then they were challenging me. They could bet on who I was going to vote for. And
I wouldn't bet on that.
And their obvious choice,
Chris.
right? Yeah. When they hinted at what they thought my obvious choice was, and I indicated no, they started now poking questions to the asking of the why and
the
why aspect. And I said, well, because I don't believe that those individuals and that political party can offer to you young people the fulfillment of your dreams. Because you need a vision. You don't need utopia. And they were like, immediately, they were like, I said, so think about it again.
But the thing is, so you said that was a class with politics and religion.
Yeah.
And so that is the kind of category I would, again, place these young people who are interested in leadership
They
in.
sort of, they already.
They're already. So their interest is there, the passion is there. But they're persons, again, remember I told you I served in the student guild. And I served in the guild during the COVID-19 pandemic. Not just from 2020 going into it, but the whole hybrid system and all that we operated in that space. And you could have tell then, right? There is this disinterest in elections.
But
There's the
Chris,
messaging is
isn't it
not
a reinforcing principle? Because if you go back, and Shane, you could speak to this too. Every generation at some point is young. We are not all born with these salt and pepper, beautiful flecks that I have in my face, right?
He said flex?
He can speak for himself. I don't have no sort of
just for men. But we young at some point. And I have heard over the generations that there is this continuous apathy, and sometimes it reinforces. So like if your parents are not politically interested, you tend to also be even less interested as a younger person. So is it a function that older generations have not inculcated in us the importance of this process?
No, I think you would find persons who come from a specific home where they're politically engaged and motivated, and they're born into this political home, so they all vote according to those political lines. But that exists.
It does, however, I am seeing now, and this is based on no big research, but based on little questions that I would ask my colleagues and my co-workers and everybody else, and they would be like, my family is pro this, pro X. I don't really feel I want to be pro X. So
I am seeing that too.
It comes whereby they are now having their own independent thinking and own decision, which I find is good, because now it is breaking out of that what you call that kind of culture when you
that's
follow
traditional voting culture.
Traditional voting
almost
culture.
Cultish.
Yeah, well.
But so let's by unpacking this, let's pull one thread out, right? One of the reasons there's apathy, not just in young people, but generally, because we had a 54% voter turnout, right? Yeah. Which was I think the second lowest ever.
It's the lowest in the last 20 years.
There you go. So, I believe what we're here to talk about.
There's a but though.
Go ahead.
The but is that voter turnout is relative to total voting population.
Good point, because it's a percentage,
so
right?
It's a percentage, right?
Nikki.
So when I did the average, for the average voter turnout from 2000 to 2020, when you add it all up and you do the math, it's an average of 649,677 voters average every election that turns out, right? And that is based on the average of everybody who's come out to vote in the last 20 years.
Right.
The voter turnout in 2025 was 617,000 some change. So that's a drop of give or take 40,000
of the average,
right? Of the average. But taking into consideration that we had an increase of 20,000 persons in 2025, so we went from 1.134 to 1.154 and some change million people eligible to vote, of which we had 600 and something thousand voting, which is above the 50%, right?
Right.
Now, if you take that 617,000 and you compare it to 2020 or 2015 or 2010, you're going to get a higher voter turnout, right? So we have to take into consideration that that is also very relevant to the conversation. But for 2025, we saw a drop in 97,700 and something people voting, not voting. Then you saw the UNC gain to 26,000 votes between 2020 and 2025.
Right, overall, yes.
So you are seeing movements and shifts in voter behavior.
Because
and
the
voter turnout.
PNM lost 100. It's 120,000.
It's 97,000 people that did not vote. What I would say is that of the 97,000 voters that did not turn out, average 50,000 would have been traditional voters, with the other 40-something thousand being potential PNM voters that are marginal voters who are normally minded to vote PNM.
But they can shift.
Yes. And they chose not to.
Carrie, we the youth, you hear the level of analysis because people speak in generalities, right? They look at the top level. But Shane, I'm glad that you're helping the listeners break down. You must go behind the numbers. But so the thread I wanted to pull out of this tapestry is the accountability component. Many people, older and younger, will tell you, I don't vote because nothing changes. I feel that even after, I don't know how to get these people to listen or to deliver on the promises. So I think when you disempower yourself like that, naturally when you get up in the morning, you say, am I going to stand up in the hot sun? Because all of them are the same. So let's take it from the technical point of view. So Shane, you start us off. When we use the word accountability in relation to a government or an administration, what are we really talking about? What should the listeners define accountability as from a technical point?
Well, we have to understand, one, that accountability is entrenched in our system.
Okay.
So there's an entrenchment of accountability and transparency within the system through the public service rules and regulations. And the public service rules and regulations is what drives our bureaucracy. And we operate under Weber's bureaucracy. Weber's bureaucracy is one of the most ancient but also one of the most rigid bureaucracy systems in the world.
And by the way, I don't think bureaucracy is a bad word.
Bureaucracy is not a bad
word. It has become perceived as a bad
because of the ease of doing business, right? But what it does is that Weber's bureaucracy is rigid and strong enough to withstand the test of time. And we are operating under Weber's bureaucracy since inception of our independence. And it has been strengthened in 1976. And then as the world evolved, we ended up with new public management, which was developed in 1991 by Christopher Hood. Now that's an aspect of public administration. Hood came in and he understood there was a hierarchy that was built on meritocracy.
Okay.
No, not meritocracy.
Not meritocracy.
Hierarchy.
Okay.
So Weber's bureaucracy was built on hierarchy. So the longer you are, the more senior you are. Right.
So tenure.
And on top of that, it had specific roles and functions that would have been in the general administration. You know, there was the accounts and all of that. But Christopher Hood realized that in Weber's bureaucracy, there were gaps in accountability and in functionality. So what he proposed was that we developed rather than sticking to hierarchy in Weber's bureaucracy, we go laterally and we spread the work out. So that is what introduced to us corporate communications, audit, finance, human resource management, all monitor and evaluation, everything that's a contract position in the system now is what Christopher Hood brought into our system to make it now a hybrid. Right? So accountability, it doesn't mean that because you're a contract officer, you're not under the Weber's bureaucracy framework of accountability, because you still have to do the three-court system. The OPR adds a different level of procurement.
You have to follow the regulations.
You have to follow the regulations. There's a process to follow it. And then you have to justify by written notes to your permanent secretary justifying why you're going to go with X over Y and the cost and all of those things. That's one aspect in terms of technicality. But when it comes to government spending again, while the budget, and I keep saying, the national budget is not just an economic document, it's a political
Correct.
document.
Of course.
It's political, and I have developed the term called econopolitics, because on the budget to be able to make sense of it, because at the end of the day, the government is also a political entity. Right? And therefore, they have mandates and manifesto promises to meet. Manifesto promises then go from manifesto promises into policy.
Public policy.
Right? And
Yeah,
that is what
exactly.
informs our lives and improves,
Yes.
as the case may be.
And draws down allocations and resources
correct,
and all of
and
that.
votes and all of
Yeah.
that. So the system of accountability is there. Then you have the system within the framework of the parliament, where you have to answer. So you have the Public Accounts Committee,
Yes.
the Public Enterprises Accounts Committee. You have the different subcommittees of the parliament, security, food, agriculture, you name it, where you have to call people into
And you
account.
have Prime Minister's
But
questions.
the JSC is a part of that.
The Joint
Yes.
Select,
Joint
yeah,
Select
the Joint
Committee.
Select Committee is also part
I
of
think
the
that does work
accountability.
though. I watch that.
It works.
I love it.
It
Yeah.
does work because you hold the technocrats and the minister in front of you,
Yeah,
and you ask the
accountable,
questions,
yeah.
and you say, well, why wasn't this or that done? Plus, you have to take into consideration the annual reports that we sometimes don't take into consideration, don't read.
People
right?
do not read
That
these
you don't
things.
read. When you walk into the parliament and you're handed the reports, you go through the reports, you find a lot of information in there. So, for example, reading is important. Young people, students, postgrads, they don't like to read books. And I understand as a lecturer, reading a book in a short period of time could be time consuming, energy consuming, is a lot. So I encourage people, don't read a book, read documents, read a journal, read the papers. If you're on social media and on the go, you have all of the Instagram, all of Facebook, all of these platforms also channel news.
Yes.
And that is how you keep yourself informed.
And maybe people who have read the heavy text,
Can
they have
inform-
broken it down,
correct,
so you can
right?
get it through that medium.
So so the accountability aspect of it is not just talking and asking questions, but there are legal frameworks, there are constitutional frameworks that provides that we become accountable. Here's where the accountability collapses. We throw our hands up in the air and say, you see
Meaning
me?
the citizens.
Yes, we the citizens say, you see me? Me about other people no more.
Me not hearing for them now.
Me, I don't hear no more. I don't hear about them.
So, so Chris, you're a process man, right? The honorable professor has edified us about the technical components that exist. And by the way, folks, if you're interested, there's something called the State Enterprise Monitoring Manual. I had to learn it cover to cover when I was in the public sector.
Say that again. The State
Enterprises Monitoring and Performance Manual.
Monitoring and Performance
And
Manual.
as Shane is rightfully saying, that document is robust to a T. It even tells you when you're supposed to publish your accounts in the papers. Right? Now, if people listen and follow it, is a different story. So, Chris, you've heard the honorable professor break it down for us, right? What is your take then on accountability measures? You've stood in our parliament, which is something that a lot of people have never done. So you've actually stood in this august chamber, and you've taken on that persona of the people who are supposed to be accounting to the public. Do you think that the framework actually manifests in the way that it's supposed to? What is your position?
So, well, right now we have a UNC coalition of interest governments, and so they would have campaigned on a number of issues. Actually, I wouldn't even say they campaigned in this last month or two. I think they campaigned in the last 9 years. And
Interesting.
Yeah. And so the mandate that they would have gotten with 26 seats, there's a lot of things that they said are in the political hustings, right? And so, for me, someone who, again, has an interest, I'm going to be looking at the media review that is coming up to see how you are able to maneuver the things on the campaign trail into government policy. Also, you have the budget coming up. This will be 2026 budget coming up. So those are the things I would be looking at in terms of observation. But in terms of holding them accountable, even if you do not work within the public sector or what is it, FOIA, whatever. The outside as an individual, as a young person, you have your platform. No one is taking that away from you. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, I was in another interview, and there was this conversation about, well, the UNC only win because people stay home. And I was like, wait. I was like, hold on.
Shane, we have to be kind.
I was like,
why is this relevant? It's because I commented on that. I did a piece on
I
that.
hope you didn't say that, because now I have to respond. Now I have to respond. No,
It wasn't to you. It was to the person that made the statement that I found was nonsensical.
Right, so then we might be in agreement here. Because to me, once you are eligible to vote, you could
vote for whoever
nobody,
you feel to.
nobody, as far as I know, and I may be wrong, nobody from the UNC went and hold it down in your house and said they don't come out and vote. So do not tell me that you decided in your right, it was your democratic right to not participate and then complain about the outcome. No, well then you are part of the problem then. You need to stand up next 5 years.
Because the seat could be won by one vote.
So
a win is a win is a
a
win.
a win is a win. So those who wish to participate in the election did, and the mandate was given. And so now, this is not about, well, the UNC in government. This is about, we have an elected government in Trinidad and Tobago, and we must work with them. But work with them doesn't only mean commend everything that they do.
No.
Work with them means hold them accountable to
Yeah.
the things that they promised. So there are a number of things. And I believe coming out of the swearing-in ceremony, the Minister of Finance, he would have spoken to property tax and the refund for the persons who were. So we hold them to that.
Yeah.
We are holding the Minister of Public Utilities to
Wasa and TNTech.
raises in the
So what
rates.
what you're saying basically is it's simple enough.
It is
to
not
choose,
that difficult.
You know the line items.
Yeah, it is not that difficult.
And all you need to do as a citizen at a very basic level.
Very basic.
Is say, all right, these are the 10 things you promised.
Right.
Are you doing it?
Are you doing? And so we will know, we will feel it the same way. The crime was a big ticket item in this election.
Yeah.
It was huge. I mean, home invasions, and then I think the UNC, now looking at it, I think when you're in the election season and even prior to election season, you could make a lot of predictions and you could assume, well, maybe this is why they're doing this because of that. But only after, then you can recognize based on how real human beings went out to vote.
Yeah.
Crime was a big problem. And so there are ways to solve crime, so you said. And so this is where we can come in and ask questions. For example, on Parliament, you can open to the Parview on YouTube and ask your questions. You know, the same joint select committees, and they field your questions from that.
Yes,
on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah. Right.
You can go to your member of Parliament. A lot of people complain, well, I don't see my MP. First of all, I don't like that language, by the way. Right? Your member of Parliament has an office. Go and see. If they didn't come into, go and see them.
Yeah.
Do go and see. And not just that, I believe each member of Parliament, the Parliament pays your staff. There's a field officer, if I'm not mistaken. You're supposed to you know the field officer?
Well, that's the next thing that you mentioned.
Don't not engage and then complain about it.
So, Carrie, I know we have to go to the top of the hour with the news. But guys, when we come back, I like where we're going because Shane, you have masterfully given us the technical construct that exists. But at the same time, Chris, you are saying to the average citizen, you don't even need to understand that. There are methods you can utilize.
And the UNC puts in all of the papers, their plans.
Well,
so Carrie, so you didn't read it?
When we come back
probably they didn't.
After the hour, I think we're going to unpack this a little bit more.
Yes. And of course, when we come back, we'll be taking calls as well. I've seen my lines lighten up, but they had to wait because, we have news coming up next. All right. So, guys, continue keeping it locked to Freedom 106.5 FM. Carrie V is here in the company. This is We the Youth, and we're going all the way to 5 p.m. Or 4 p.m. news is up next, courtesy Republic Bank Limited. Keep it locked.
Expression is who we are. Take control. The all-new Talk Radio. Freedom 106.5. Speak your mind.
This is Freedom 106.5 FM, powered by the TBC Radio Network, the nation's biggest and best network. Included sister stations: Slam 100.5 FM, Sky 99.5 FM, Vibe City 105 FM, Sangeet 106.1 FM, and 95 The Ultimate One. This is the 4 p.m. news brought to you by Republic Bank Limited. Use your Republic Bank MasterCard and you can win a trip for 2 persons to the UEFA Championship League final in Munich, Germany. Visit republictt.com for more details.
Good afternoon, I'm Doris Polo with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC Radio Network. More than 24 hours after she was informed that the Police Service Commission lifted her suspension, Police Commissioner Earl Herwood Christopher is yet to receive her reinstatement letter. The Top Cops Attorney Senior Counsel Pamela Elder questioned why the delay in dispatching the letter.
It is shocking, it is scandalous, it is deplorable. I cannot find the words to describe the conduct of the Service Commission in not issuing this letter with dispatch.
The president of the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association says the recent U.S. travel advisory is damaging to the island's tourism sector and totally unfair. Reginald McLean says the Level 3 advisory published on May 7th, which warns against travel to Trinidad and Tobago because of crime, terrorism and kidnapping, is based on issues mainly happening in Trinidad, but Tobago is paying the price. He says Tobago is safe, but being tied to Trinidad makes the island look dangerous. Police are investigating a shooting in Laramine involving the daughter of a San Fernando businessman. Sources say the woman's Range Rover was shot at along the South Trunk Road at around 10 a.m. Officers of the Southern Division CID and San Fernando Police visited the area and remained at the scene up to midday. In a separate incident, a 25-year-old Pleasantville man was beaten and robbed during a home invasion yesterday. Police say the man was at his home around 1:20 p.m. when he heard a noise coming from the bedroom. On investigating, he found a stranger climbing through the bedroom window. The man reported that another bandit beat him with a piece of wood as they stole his cell phone and $1,500 before escaping. This has been Headline News. Look out for another news update at the top of the hour.
And that was the 4 p.m. news on Freedom 106.5 FM, brought to you by the TBC Radio Network, the nation's biggest and best network. The 4 p.m. news was brought to you by Republic Bank. Use your Republic Bank MasterCard and you can win a trip for 2 persons to the UEFA Champions League final in Munich, Germany. Visit republictt.com for more details.
That email seems suspicious, and that SMS could be vicious. That phone call or voice note's too serious, too good to be true, probably fictitious. Don't be fooled by online imposters, promise things that are gonna cost ya. Be aware, protect your data and money. Stay aware, stay alert, stay secure.
You can outsmart the scammers. A message from Republic Bank. Report any suspicious activity to customer care at rfhl.com.
This is Freedom 106.5 FM, 106.5 FM. Your solution for current affairs and talk. Join the conversation today as we build a better nation. Insightful discussions and interviews on national progress, the latest developments in environmental, social, and governance, plus corporate social responsibility. Freedom 106.5 FM gives you a voice. Freedom to inspire. Freedom to change. Speak your mind with Freedom 106.5 FM. Tune in to Betterments with host Space, Monday through Thursday, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. for a program that educates and is solution-based. Base tackles the issues that matter to you, providing a platform to speak your mind and find solutions. That's Betterments with Base, with a focus on education and resolution. This is all about making things better for you. You can reach us via phone and WhatsApp to share your thoughts and find solutions to the issues that matter to you. So if you want to make a difference and have your voice heard, tune into Freedom 106.5 FM and join us for Betterments with Base, Monday through Thursday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Better for you. Only on Freedom 106.5 FM, where we believe that your voice matters.
A spelling-based game for school children 10 years and under.
Keep an eye on the clock, and this is the Spellbound Wheel.
Plus,
Your hive of 5 and 35 is...
And featuring your boy, Kirsty Illusionist.
It's on Mondays at 8.
Streaming live on Facebook and at cnc3.co.tt.
Reruns on Wednesdays at 4:25 p.m. and on Saturdays at 5 p.m. on CNC3.
brought to you by the Ministry of Planning and Development, Harrier Fuel Trading Company Limited, Redoxitos Plus, and thebesttoys.com.
Power up your Saturdays with Carrie V's electrifying energy on Speak Your Mind Saturdays. Here, you're not just tuning in, you're transforming the show into a vibrant tapestry of opinions, laughter, and spirited debates. Get set for a day packed with the fun, the burning issues, and Carrie V's infectious personality. Join the fun, fuel the conversation, speak your mind. Saturdays with Carrie V on Freedom 106.5 FM. She is fun and engaging. It's Carrie V on Freedom 106.5 FM. Speak your mind.
And welcome back to Freedom 106.5 FM. It's just about 6 minutes after 4 in the beautiful, sweet. Can I call Trinidad and Tobago a diabetic because we're real sweet?
Yeah,
Can I
of
do
course.
that? Yeah, right?
Correct.
Diabetes Trinidad and
Type 2
Tobago.
or type 3?
Type 2.
We need insulin.
Yeah, we did the two of them. The tablets and insulin. First we see all you. Always a beautiful one on the outside. Rudy, welcome back. Welcome back, Dr. Shane and Chris Hossein. Thank you for joining us today. And are you okay?
We are live. As you were speaking about the sweetness of our country, a lot of images were going through my mind.
Wait. I hope it really
Doubles. Tell them.
I like, no.
Sugar cake.
I like sugar cake.
Popper balls. Those,
Ooh, the green ones. Yes. Now you're talking anything, doctor?
Snow cone.
Oh,
Moby.
Oh, God, Moby.
Oh, no, the sweet
Chris
Moby.
does not Moby.
Callaloo.
What?
Yeah.
Chris, you know about Bark Moby, right?
I know what Moby is.
Not the one in the bottle, eh?
Not the one in the bottle. Not the one you had the
one in the boil.
No, Chris, go home. So welcome back, guys, and of course this is We the Youth, and we are talking about after the vote and holding these politicians accountable. But before we head back into the conversation, all right, someone was calling us just now, but I see the lights not on anymore. So they're back up. So we want to take a call.
Yes.
I want to say one more thing in holding persons to account. It's not about just holding the government to account, It's also holding the opposition to account. Because they hold a role in the parliament.
Yeah.
Right? So their issues, the issues that you may, if you happen to fall in a constituency that belongs to the opposition, then you must hold them to account.
Because there's an MP.
Yes, get
And let me just add before we take the call, right? The opposition. I think you all will have to possibly break down their role and their function because some people might not understand.
Yes, we were going to get into that.
I want to also say quickly that because I just said that the opposition should try to get it done. When I say try to get it done, work across the aisle. There are matters on the adjournment. They can put out press releases. They can hold conferences. Being an advocate and demonstrating to your constituents that you did the work. Then it's up to the government if they wanted to proceed with whatever work you advocated for.
That makes sense.
But don't say, they're doing nothing for you and they didn't ask in the first place.
Yeah.
The other thing is in the parliament, the way you debate, the way you conduct yourselves. We're looking at that as well.
But you have to also understand that political dialogue is also relevant, not relevant, it is directly linked to our culture as a people.
Yes, of course.
Okay? So, how we dialogue in the parliament, in this 13th parliament that we're going to go into, it's going to be very interesting because one, you have two women who are leading both sides of the house.
Yes.
That's one. Two, one is a teacher of the other. So one is
True.
the teacher, one is
And
the student,
yeah.
right? But the fact that there are two women leading the parliament is going to also to tell us what to expect with regard to the dialogue. But our dialogue, I don't believe in vitriol, but we live for the peacock.
We do.
And you know, I'm excited to see this first sitting because I want
think
to see
a lot of people.
how
it
this
may
is
be
going to
the
play out.
highest viewed sitting
Probably.
of Parliament.
Listen, I
Probably.
just want to see one thing, and this could sound biased, but I just curious, right? I want to see who's sitting on the 13th seat of the opposition.
Oh gosh.
That will tell me, as a
Well-
political scientist, plenty things.
Ah, true. But all right, so let's send to the phone line
Yes,
625
let's take
2257 or 6273 Of course, you can send me a WhatsApp message to 306-1065. This is We the Youth. Let's see who's there.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Miss Carrie V.
Hey.
And good afternoon to your honored guest.
What's up?
Very intelligent and informative program, Princess Song.
Princess Song in the house. Talk to us.
Yes, I wanted to get your guest's views on this subject of voter apathy.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to believe it's deeper than just simple apathy. And it has more to do with a kind of protracted servitude, a kind of hopelessness that has permeated the political atmosphere in Trinidad and Tobago.
Mm-hmm.
And the time has come, perhaps, we have to dig deeper. And if there is, in fact, a disconnection between governance, politics, and how we conduct the affairs of the state, the expectations of the citizens.
Right.
And once there is not some kind of cohesion there, people are going to be lost in the system. And I'm saying it is time politicians take the time off to educate this wider citizens on these issues on parliament, on et cetera, on governance and so on. So that will help in getting people to understand and appreciate and want to participate. It cannot be just, social media and just sloganeering and song biting. We have to go deeper.
Song biting. What you have
issues.
against social media and song bite? What am to you?
No, not
Okay,
against
all
it.
right, okay.
I'm saying there is a role for that, of course.
All
But
right.
we have to go a little deeper than that. From an intellectual perspective, like what you are sharing with us this afternoon.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much for your call.
So, guys, let's unpack that a little bit. In an idealistic framework, and I don't mean that in a pejorative sense, I just mean idealistic as in best case scenario. Yes, leaders are supposed to ensure that their followers or the general public is empowered and educated.
That's
But
a theory.
That's a theory.
That's a real
But
theory in leadership, right?
that's
So
one-
it's called LMX. So it's the leadership follower theory, right? That we call LMX, right? And it is exactly what you are saying. That leaders are supposed to nurture, they're supposed to inspire, they're supposed to empower their followers. And they have a duty to ensure that their communication and rapport with their followers is sustained, because the followers are the ones that will make or break the leader.
Right.
So, to take what the caller
Yes.
is asking about apathy, every time, and taking out of what Chris has said as well, every election, you have a choice to make. You have a decision to make. As Chris rightfully says, it's an investment. You put your vote, you invest, and then after 5 years, you decide what your return on
Was,
that investment
correct.
was, whether it failed or whether it was
Yes.
successful. And you have a decision to make then. On top of that, every government that comes into power has the ability and the authority and the responsibility, because a lot of people think that authority comes with responsibility. There are people who want authority and they don't want the responsibility either,
Correct,
right?
correct.
So if you want the authority, you have to accept the responsibility that comes with it.
Yes.
And that responsibility and authority is to limit and to decrease the apathy that exists if it's high in the country. So yes, we have voter apathy high in the country now. We've had it like that for the last 10 years. The UNC has made history. A landslide victory, low voter turnout, high levels of apathy, but they still win. How is that even possible, right?
And increased in some areas.
And increased in some areas. Now, the goodwill that has been handed to them They don't only have to govern the country effectively and efficiently. They have to communicate and maintain a connection with the society and the villages and the communities as members of parliament,
Right.
not only as just MPs, but also who sit in constituencies as elected House of Representative people, but also the senators. You are not because you're a senator. It means that you are above the MPs and the House of Representatives. You are a member of Parliament because the Senate and the House of Representatives collectively make up the Parliament. So by virtue of you being a senator/minister, you also have a responsibility to the people. So you have to make sure that your ministry is delivering, that you are also accessible, and we have a mandate now that they could think innovatively and do things differently as well. So if you know that you have 13 people in the opposition, right, and you have 16 people in the Senate, take the 16 people who in the Senate and send them into constituencies that you're not in control of, and sit down there and let them do what
He's going to send them his bill for his advice after the program.
No, but that's a good idea, though.
Yes, and it's
it's
governance.
logical.
It's governance. It's governance, right? And you have to see governance innovatively in the 21st century. So if you have senators who are ministers, you can't tell me that if you're busy Monday to Friday, one to Saturday and Sunday.
But Chris, you're listening to Shane, right? And we might ascribe to that because maybe we don't have the types of egos or insecurities that some leaders we have seen have in the past, right? Let's hope not in the future. But what do you think a government like this coming in at this juncture with so many younger people looking on, what could they do to proactively demonstrate, as Shane is rightfully saying, that they actually want to empower people? Because past governments have benefited from the apathy. They do as whatever, because the average person doesn't take them on. But what can the government do differently that you'd like to see?
Well, work, right? Short and just do
okay.
your job, right?
Just come out and work.
Start with doing your job.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think that would be great. Right? That's the first thing.
I wanted to before Shane.
The bar carries
I am trying not to. If I start to laugh the way I am accustomed laughing, we're going to erupt the airwaves.
I think that is a viral moment. We're going to see that on TikTok later. Hashtag just work.
Better do it silently. Better laugh silently.
But to answer the callers, you see, the thing is, a lot of us who have this interest and love for country and the parliament, and so for me, I remember I was talking to someone, and there was a sit-in that happened in the last session, and I felt offended. And this was a member of parliament. I was talking to the people. I was like, I can't believe this happened. They were like, yeah, well, the reason you would think so is because you have respect for the house. You have respect for the institution. And I didn't even think that I had that kind of love and respect. What I'm saying is, do these political players really genuinely want to interest everybody in voting? And the reason why is when you're crafting your message, you know who's the person that you want to send this message to.
You're supposed to communications one-on-one.
You know
who's your audience.
Your target audience is. So we could debate numbers all the time. We could debate even if it is the message coming across to the widest population. But is that the intent? Is the intention to get everybody interested in the election? I don't know. But what I will say, and I want to agree with you here. Yes, the UNC has won. Yes, they have been given a mandate, and I want to say it again, I disagree with persons who speak about this voter turnout almost to diminish the mandate.
That is exactly the intention.
That is the intention.
The intention is to diminish, is to make it sound so trivial.
Well, the UNC only win because nobody wanted to. Okay.
The point is they won.
You know what you sound like? You sound like you're a loser.
Before we start calling, before we reach there.
But what I want to say is, so all the niceties aside, great, good job, 10 out of 10, right? Political capital is a problem. So there must be a period of political wooing. You have to woo the population. You see, the persons who are disgruntled, the persons who would have said UNC and PNM is the same thing, you must demonstrate to the population that you come to work, right? So again, my very short answer,
do your work.
So Shane,
and it will speak for itself.
Dr. Shane, you were mentioning before that for the senators who are not in charge of any constituency, you know, take them and put them in one that they didn't vote.
They didn't fight.
They didn't fight, right?
Yeah.
That has ever happened before in Trinidad and Tobago?
No.
In our
Maybe
history?
Mr. Pandey. Maybe. If my memory is correct. That maybe Mr. Pandey did. Because how it worked is that members of parliament, they go to their constituency days on a Tuesday.
Right.
And Mr. Pandey had a system at one point in time where if the MPs are going on a Tuesday and senators sitting on a Tuesday, well, then the senators will go on a Friday when the House is sitting on a Friday.
Interesting.
And do some work on the ground, because you balance the power and you balance the you make yourself accessible. It also is a good training place, a period of training for those who are senators who would one day want to become elected members of parliament, right? And it also allows the party to build collateral with the people who you see. So, for example, Dominic Smith, who lost Mausaka Malabar by such a small margin, he should dedicate one of his days of the week to go back to Malabar Mausaka
and continue
to do the work.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So let's take this call. There's someone on the line. Hello. Good afternoon.
Pleasant good afternoon, Carrie.
Hey, what's up? Talk to us.
Good afternoon.
Hi there, and your guest. But Carrie, let me just clarify one thing. How you could invite Dr. Shane and Chris before me? You know, I will
well, don't worry. Your name on the outside. You don't worry about that.
Carrie, I will take full responsibility.
Anyway, so gentlemen, I'm not going to pose a question to you, but I'm going to create an argument, and I will want you to respond to it. And that is to say, now we have Kamla Prasad Desessa, the Honorable, as Prime Minister, and we have Penelope Beckles as Opposition Leader. And knowing these two goodly ladies, who are capable and I believe care about country on both sides, can we expect constitutional reform? Can we expect that they will agree on a number of issues in favor of the people? Notwithstanding, we have people like Carl Membert and a couple others who may not change their behavior, and maybe Stuart Young is one of, and we'll know the kind of statements and so on that he has made. But the fact is that I personally believe that with Penelope Beckles as opposition leader and a few newcomers to the PNM, I believe that they can very well work together for the benefit of the country and pass legislation accordingly. I think that the opposition leader has a good head on her shoulder, and she will not want to hound the UNC out of office. And as I close, I want to touch on the issue. Somebody mentioned that the PNM did not that the UNC did not win the election. The UNC won the elections and the PNM lost the elections. And by that I mean the UNC got more votes than they got before, and the PNM got much less votes than they got before. So whichever way, the UNC would have formed the government. I thank you.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much.
So let's use that for a moment to...
by virtue of the numbers.
Plain numbers.
Plain numbers, they do have, with the help of Tobago and the level of negotiation, and I tell earlier, carry me to Tobago before you carry me to a foreign country any day, right? My love for Tobago sustains. It is Tobago is my love.
Yes, island crashers.
Tobago is yes. All the young people like crashing people. Yes,
islands.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Them young people. Listen, them young people just crash the island too much.
Of course.
They make too much noise in people's
That's
head
why
too.
my favorite beach is Charlottesville. So they could stay in Scarborough.
Tobago
Local tourism.
Tobago.
It exists. Yeah.
Tobago though deserves its autonomy. And I believe that is something that should be done with and in discussion, and it should be in communication, and it should be in agreement with the Tobago People's Party. Tobago should get its autonomy. That's one part of constitutional reform. But even more so, the party, the UNC, and Miss Beckles Robinson did say that she will not be opposing for opposing's sake. That's a commitment that we're going to have to hold her to.
And that is important.
Right?
As a responsible opposition.
So she also has the very difficult task of redirecting and repurposing the People's National Movement. And that is also going to be done based on her approach in the parliament and how she interacts and engages with the government. At the same time, the government has committed to Trinidad and Tobago that constitutional reform is something that it will be considering. And therefore, I believe that we can't just sit down and say we could expect. We are not expecting. We ought to have. And we ought to make our voices
We
known.
should advocate
And we should be
effectively
advocating.
for what you want.
And we should be saying, listen, do we want right to recall? Yes. Do we want term limits for Prime Minister? Yes.
Age limits too.
We want age.
Retirement limits.
Look, leave me alone with this age limits thing. Not because we old me, we can't think.
No, I want to say something though. When we discuss it, and when I say age limits, I'm not just talking about the upper, I'm talking about the lower, because in the Senate,
Interesting.
In the Senate, you have to be 25 years and older to be allowed or be appointed in the Senate to serve. I think the lower house is 18.
Yeah.
And I think we ought to develop that conversation. So my generation,
Interesting.
we actually, the Trinidad Youth Council, in collaboration with the Constitutional Reform Committee, they would have held a consultation with young persons.
Yes.
And that was something that came up.
21?
Well, we didn't determine the age of 21.
But
we
you
said.
thought it should
But
be higher.
We thought that it should be lower, possibly 18 as well.
Nah,
Because
no.
I said possibly. It's
yeah.
a debate to be
Yeah,
had.
no, why I will say no.
That's episode 15.
Yes.
And
It's a debate to be had.
I would say that one of the things that we have to I agree with is that the Senate should be a place where a different level of decorum
On that, I think we
happens,
can all agree.
right? And it is equivalent to the House of Lords. So obviously, if the Senate is equivalent to the House of Lords, a different level of behavior is required altogether. But there's also a level of maturity that is required in the Senate.
Yes, and experience of life and
that sort
things
of thing.
that can only come with time.
Correct, right?
Unfortunately.
And 25, I think, is, yes, I understand where you're going. Because I know Mr. Pandey, when Mr. Pandey wanted to appoint me to the Senate, he was frustrated because of the 25, the age limit of the
we got
age.
away, Karen.
25.
We got away.
Right?
Guys,
Right,
do we just
okay.
want to stick a pin
Let's
for a call?
let's take a call, right? I've seen the lines lighting up like a
Yes.
Christmas tree. Let's get this one.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Welcome to We the Youth.
Yeah, pleasant afternoon, Gary.
Hey, what's up, protest man? Talk to us.
I say all your band my number, you know.
Never.
2 days I can't get it on all your program.
2 days? But you get through today?
96 calls.
96 calls? What's going on here? All right, you get through.
Yes,
Talk to us.
the kind of governance we get in.
What? Protest man?
Yeah.
Go ahead. What's up? Talk to us.
Well, Caribbean, how do we recognize good governance? Good management of good governance? How do we measure the performance of parliament and parliamentarians?
That's a good question, no?
So actually, I'm glad the caller brought that up
the
because
performance
all of
our
us come.
representatives of our constituents.
Well,
These is the questions we have to educate the population on,
Right.
because they don't know the representation that in your constitution that they represent. They just vote for a leader.
Mm.
And this is the problem that we have in lack of educating the population on these matters
Right.
that governs our lives. Because these is the decisions that makes the governance of our lives.
I got you. All right, protest man. Thanks so much.
This is what we have to work on.
Yeah.
Because you see, they wouldn't want the constitution reform because most of the constitution falls in their favor.
Who's that?
It's not favoring the public.
The public. I thought you were talking about the politicians.
Really, the public on the ground is not favoring us. So we need to come out and stand up and fight for it.
All right, protest man. Thanks so much for your call. I'll have to cut you short there
I think
so that
just
they can
quickly,
answer.
because I want to get back to the first part of his question for Chris and Shane to comment on. But I think we have to be a little fairer with the Constitution. The Constitution, as Shane was explaining, it provides certain bureaucratic and technical avenues for citizens to get involved. There are other enabling parts of the society that don't allow that as easily. So, for example, you can identify a right under the Constitution, but some people don't have money, for example, to go to court to get their rights protected over the court. So that's a different conversation. But for the earlier part, Shane, Chris, he was talking about how do you recognize performance. In the corporate world, we talk about things like KPIs, key performance indicators, right? The Constitution does not necessarily provide a job description or KPIs for MPs, for example.
But your KPIs are in
tell
your
us,
manifesto.
So
and your KPIs
unpack.
are in your policy document.
Right.
So let me
But, but is it like, well, yes, it may be documented, but is it something that we can hold them to?
Of course.
Like
Of
how?
course. So when you
let's
look
hear,
at
yes.
look at the different indices. So look at the indices that we look at to measure the sociological framework of the society. So one, when you go and you look at the rate of poverty in Trinidad and Tobago for a period 2010 to 2015, 2015 to 2025, whether that number has increased or decreased.
Right.
If it has decreased, it means that we're doing good governance to decrease and to reduce poverty.
Right.
That's one. When you look at the unemployment indice, and if the unemployment indice is down from 20, so let's just say the new government comes in 2025 and it is 3.5%, and in 2026 December it drops to 2.5%. That's a 1% drop. It means more people are getting employed in this country than a year ago, or even 6 months. We have to check that. Inflation rate, debt to GDP rates, all of these things
by the
are
way,
important.
The one-day Prime Minister
Yes.
told the nation that you could check inflation for yourself.
Correct.
Because you know what you could buy for $500
Correct.
last year.
Yes.
And so it's not a difficult thing
He
for
didn't
the
recognize
government.
that for 9 years, though. He only realized that when he became Prime Minister.
But it's
right?
not a difficult thing for the average citizen. I
The
think
cost
they
of
get
milk.
these things, Shane.
What is the cost of milk in December? Wait in May. What is the cost of milk in cheese? A block of cheese.
Yes.
The cost of a block of cheese in April, if it was $22.16, go and check it not even 6 months, check it in June. And see if that same block of cheese dropped to $18.14.
Right.
It means that more money went into your pocket. When you see if a bag of dal was $5 for a pound, and you see dal go to $4 a pound, you have $1 more in your pocket. You have to check these simple things. So for example, before I came here, I saw a picture from Tobago where the Coast Guard is parked on one of the beaches, right? And somebody said, look at thing. For 9 years, we have seen no Coast Guard. Tanti come in power and the Coast Guard reach, right? But there's other things. Somebody just sent me this. The Prime Minister cut costs when she said there will be no more wasteful advertising, right? So sorry for the advertising and the the
I
advertising
took
companies.
that, and that's an important cost to cut.
No more $1 million rentals. So if we pay in rent for things that are too for things that we don't need, cut it out. Them people who thought they was going to be driving Range Rover as minister. Sorry, she said stick to a Prado.
Not a Tida.
She didn't say a what man.
No, well, yeah, but
she said she have a little Prado, so nothing more than a Prado. Right?
Nothing wrong with a Tida.
And she says no more unnecessary security details. So if you know you were getting blue lights when you ain't need it and nobody want to kill you, partner.
No, but Shane, I'm glad you reinforced those points because I listened to her, and when she made the point about the housing allowance, and then there were people in the public sector who were asking on top of the public allowance for housing to get a house.
What?
These things have happened in the past. So these are KPIs that we have, some of us have to keep an eye on and share with the wider public, Chris.
So we have identified how you will determine if it was good work or bad work.
Okay.
Now, the other part now is how are you going to hold them to account? Where's your voice in all of this? Because if it's bad work, what do you do? And I think that is the essentially what I have noticed in the couple of years that I've been commenting in politics is that people want to feel like they have a say. What we could do now. And as I said earlier on, you can speak with your member of parliament.
Right.
Protest is still a thing.
Yes, I know. I'm thinking it. Yeah,
protest is still a thing. No.
And there are many avenues to protest.
No, but then Carrie going to say that no outside the sun too.
And you're right.
And then let me also say, social media allows you such a platform, and I don't want to diminish some person's political, identities or career, but a number of politicians who did not win seats they have been carrying messages on social media, utilizing the space, I think maximizing the space. It's only until the election and we realize, okay, no problem, we understand. So you more so might have been an influencer than a politician,
right.
A social media one. But the point is you get to carry a message. There are many other avenues. There's a local government.
But what if the message doesn't reach the person?
Well, there are elections, and elections will always have consequences.
Which is in 5 years.
They're local government.
Local government, okay.
Yeah,
right.
local government elections.
I think what we're getting at is, while we may not have the perfect system, we do have things, and that's how you started, Shane, by saying that there are elements of the mechanics are there at some level. But we, Chris, the citizens, have to get involved in some level.
And also get engaged. And, you're making the point about reading and staying informed. And that's such a critical point. Because there are a number of persons that do not know the difference between a member of parliament in government from a member of parliament in opposition. The amount of licks I hear UNC MPs would have gotten because this didn't fix or that didn't fix or this, they were in opposition. I'm not saying that the PNM was vindictive, but the same.
But that's also something that you also have to, the realpolitik. This is where the political science is coming out now. Machiavelli tells us that there's something called the realpolitik. And the realpolitik is, if I am a member of parliament in government / minister, and Chris is a member of parliament in opposition,
right.
and I know that Chris is the member of parliament from Maruga Tableland, that's a marginal, so let's go with that one.
Right.
And Chris comes and say, well, it have a big landslide in Indian Wharf that needs to get fixed, and my people are protesting, and down in Marrakech, I have no water. I'm not going and help him,
No.
But you're supposed to help him, no?
No, he wants to win the seat.
I want to win the seat for the PNM or for the UNC, so I'm not helping him. So I go do a patchwork, as we like to say,
and then blame her.
And then say, you see, that's what he advocate for.
Yeah, he did nothing.
But he did nothing. Yeah.
All right, okay.
But
let's, before you continue, let me just take a call,
Sure.
That's okay? Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, welcome to We the Youth.
Yeah, good day, and good day, Caribbean, and Shane and the other guests here. Well, I hear somebody say that the UNC and the PNM is the same thing. It cannot be the same thing at all, because PNM, for the past 10 years, they promised a lot of things in their manifesto, and they didn't enforce their policies where the people was looking for them to deliver goods and service to the people. However, we see the Kamala Prasad Bisesa under her tenure in 2010 to 2015, her manifesto, majority of the policies did she enforce it, and goods and services did deliver for the people of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, buddy, thanks so much. Thanks so much for that. Go ahead, yeah.
So, one of the things I also wanted to tell Chris is that one of the things that I think young people should pick up and run with is that need for referendum.
Agreed.
And this, not to insult the mature population, right? But we have to take into consideration that there's a sector of the society that does not understand why we need right to referendum. And there are a lot of social issues that the young people, I am challenging young people now, to pick up and run with, and to have academic discussion about and how it will affect, influence your lives in the future, and why the right to referendum is important to be on the law books. Because that is also something that is missing from our legislative and our democratic framework that the young people should be running with.
Well, you'll be happy to hear we did discuss that, and that was one of our recommendations to the committee. But also, in holding them to account, as I was saying, on social media, you have that space to do it, which many persons would have utilized. In your schools, you can you're a part of the student guild. And I'm not saying to go in there to be politically motivated, but there
you're dealing with public issues and national policies.
You're dealing with GATE, for example.
Right, that's a good example.
That you have
is that
to treat
important
with.
to you?
So you gotta organize yourself a bit more. I think what we also lack is organization. So we all have these we may have the same problem, but we are not organized enough to communicate. Correct. So I think that is and then education is the other part, knowing the difference between local government and central government. I don't think persons understand that. I saw it in Tobago actually, where you saw one party campaigning on THA issues. as though it was.
You
well, you know what?
are able to see the difference.
No, but listen, why that was happening was not that was not ignorance. That was strategic,
deliberate,
an attempt. Yes, because the election cycle continues. Tobago goes into THA elections in January 2026. So they are looking to now beat the THA down, because if we lost the 2 seats in the parliament, then we try and retake the THA.
Or what if you didn't have much to account for?
That's also important. That's also a very important point.
Wow. So let's take another call. I see our lines.
Good afternoon. Welcome to We the Youth.
Yeah, good afternoon. There's so much I want to respond to, but basically, I want to address the gentleman there. Basically, as a political scientist, the figures show, plus or minus, there's 100,000 people who didn't vote for neither the PNM nor the UNC. So you're kind of pretending that the UNC victory was so significant, substantial, and the figures don't support what you're saying. You understand? If you take away $50,000 or $30,000, 30,000 people from that, there's still $70,000 who didn't vote for the UNC, and the PNM got $100,000 less votes. So this victory, contrary to what you would like people to believe or what people would like to believe, that it was a candidate that win this big victory for the UNC or any other party based on the poor performance of the UNC. And people have forgotten over the last 10 years that the UNC came in with the reputation of the most corrupt government.
All right. You see when it started?
No. Let me go out.
No.
While he's getting his information, I just want to remind the population that in our system, the way it is set up in the first past the post.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have 41 seats, and what really matters in the election is seats.
And to that point, if you compare the number of seats that the People's Partnership won in 2010, you compare the number of seats that the PNM won in 2015 and 2020, you can't ignore the fact that the UNC has a majority of seats.
He
in
has
this
found his
Dr.
lecture,
Shane Mohammed.
Right? He has found his lecture.
So we
but Shane, I have to say this for you. I know you. I have to say, I did not read what you were saying, Shane, as though you were trying to make out the case that the caller made out. But but you go ahead and
me don't care,
okay,
right?
Tell us.
Let us not get caught up in nonsense, right? This is a numbers game.
Yes.
It comes down, as Chris rightfully say, there's a finish line. The finish line is the first to the line, and how much at the 6 o'clock the clock stops. And you reach after that, you count half.
Unless it's raining.
Or current go, or the goat pass and block the road. But as far as I am aware, in the first past the post system, there's a number of voters that are available to all political parties.
Right.
Of which there was 17.
17, by the way. I'm glad I was waiting for you to make that point. Yes.
So it had 17 political parties plus about 7 independents. So give or take, you had plenty choices.
Yes.
They had 1.15 million people available to go and vote at 100% if you so desire.
Yes.
Right? If 54% decided that
they
were going to
vote,
right? And of that 54%, the majority voted for the UNC. The UNC win. It don't matter if they win minority, they win. And the fact of the matter is, they won a landslide victory in what is perceived to be a low voter turnout for the first time in our political history. There's nothing about me creating a perception, me defending, me creating. The fact is there.
I just want to also interject. The UNC did not just win 26 seats. They won Labrie and Point Fortin. And that to me is, we talk about referendum, that is a referendum, I think, in that would have been one of the safest seats for the people's
because look at the issues that were related to those constituencies.
You're also looking at San Fernando East. San Fernando East is probably one of the safest seats in the PNM.
Especially with a candidate that was perceived to be very popular.
We went down to
a losing candidate.
A recount. So I think that, again, a lot of persons who may not be pleased with the outcome of the election, we understand.
They're splitting hairs.
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
and that's the thing about
they
competition.
won the election.
That's the thing about in competitions and election as well.
And what we're talking about here, Carrie, is they have won. How do we hold them accountable?
But I think this is something we also have to deal with, because managing expectations and feelings is a human thing. And though you may have invested your vote not in the UNC, that doesn't mean that you cannot work with the government of the day.
That
also
point.
doesn't mean that you cannot also hold them
No,
to
well,
account.
some people pick up their marbles and
but
walk
it doesn't
away.
mean that you have to be unfair in your scrutiny.
But I also want to ask the question: if the UNC came up, and I mean, I have been a major critic of the UNC as well. Me and pretended, but
they know.
All of us, that is a good notice. Notice younger people are able. We are very much able to be objective.
I'm not pretending, right? I'm not pretending.
No,
so
all of us around this table.
If the UNC come in with a barrage of accusations of corruption, then the barrage of accusations of corruption should have been dealt with in the 9 years that the people who were accusing, or where they uncovered the corruption, they should have ensured that the system provided for the persons who are accused of corruption to be brought before the courts and to be disciplined accordingly.
I just always ask that, all these allegations of corruption. How come
as
nobody
an
get
attorney
locked up?
myself, I thought the burden was innocent until proven guilty.
Wow.
But Shane, to that point,
Before
yes.
you continue, 4:45, we gotta take a really quick break.
We're getting heated now.
Yeah, I realize that. So guys, this is We the Youth, and we're gonna take a quick break and be back. Just remember, our 5 p.m. news is coming up next, courtesy JTA Supermarket, and you can continue sending me those messages via WhatsApp 306-1065. Send me a voice note, and we'll be taking your calls when we get back. Keep it locked.
Are you tired of the same old boring drive home from work? Look no further. Get ready for the ultimate after-work rush with Freedom 106.5 FM's The Overdrive with Davey. Mondays to Fridays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Let Davey take you on a thrilling ride of non-stop entertainment and education. He covers the topics of the day, delves into the latest food and lifestyle trends, and brings dynamic guests from exciting professions to share their professional stories and experiences. Take advantage of this energizing and engaging experience. Tune into Freedom 106.5 FM, Mondays to Fridays, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. for The Overdrive with Davey, the ultimate way to end your day with a bang.
Spellbound!
A spelling-based game for school children 10 years and under.
Keep an eye on the clock, and this is the Spellbound Wheel.
Plus, your hive of 5 and 35 is...
And featuring your boy, Castile Illusionist.
It's on Mondays at 8.
Streaming live on Facebook and at cnc3.co.tt.
Reruns on Wednesdays at 4:25 p.m. and on Saturdays at 5 p.m. on CNC3.
Brought to you by the Ministry of Planning and Development, Harrier Fuel Trading Company Limited, Redoxitos Plus, and thebesttoys.com.
Power up your Saturdays with Carrie V's electrifying energy on Speak Your Mind Saturdays. Here, you're not just tuning in, you're transforming the show into a vibrant tapestry of opinions, laughter, and spirited debates. Get set for a day packed with the fun, the burning issues, and Carrie V's infectious personality. Join the fun, fuel the conversation, speak your mind. Saturdays with Carrie V on Freedom 106.5 FM.
It is time.
It's your time to speak with Carrie V on Freedom 106.5 FM.
Welcome back to We the Youth here live on Freedom 106.5 FM. It's episode 14. We had a wonderful series of programs leading up to the election, and we're here at it again, looking at our vote, our vigilance. How do we, especially young people, after we've cast our votes, hold a new government to account? What is our role? What is our responsibility?
And opposition.
And as Chris and Shane have been reminding us, the opposition, all
Can't
public
forget the
policy
opposition.
holders, all public office holders, but utilizing existing frameworks, Carrie, that are there, that we sometimes just don't take on. We believe that somebody else is going to come.
It is
and
somebody
solve our
else's work,
yes,
job,
but it is
responsibility.
our role as citizens.
You know, agreed. I 100% agree with you. And I think people need to, they got involved, as I started saying at the beginning of the show, that people showed a lot more enthusiasm. There are people who didn't show enthusiasm and they didn't show up. And if they didn't show enthusiasm and they didn't show up, then ask them why they didn't show up. Right?
No, they said why. They didn't want to show up.
Right? But they didn't show up. So the people that showed up, though, they won.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. The people that showed up, they won. And from the start of this election season, I've been talking about the election day management and the election day machinery. And
because there's one on the day.
If we go on that alone, then the election day machinery and the election day management of the UNC was far better than the election day management of the PNM, and the result showed. So whether they like it, you don't like it, you don't feel like it, they win by a default. However, they didn't only just win their normal seats, they win marginal seats that they are accustomed struggling in, and then they take point Fortin and Labre.
Yes.
For the first time in their 36 years, the UNC has won Labre and point Fortin.
As citizens who want to comment on politics, we have to learn to be objective, or more objective.
Your Penny
about how
Beckers
we
win
look
she
at
seat by
things.
400 votes, you know.
Yes.
Let us not forget that.
Yeah.
Right? So this could have been more cataclysmic. If people buzzed 2 weeks or 3 weeks after the election, it could have been worse.
But Shane, I have a question for you. When will persons, because it seems to me that obviously some people are not everybody going to be happy, but when will that Bazodi feeling end? Will it end?
Well, some people will tote from now until 2025.
Or you think some political parties will try to ensure the feeling continues?
Well, it would be in their interest.
I am interested in seeing, and this is also a question that will come up at some point. I am interested in seeing how the PNM reinvents itself. I am looking forward to seeing what the PNM internal elections in June turns out to be. And I do not believe that the PNM's internal election is going to be one that doesn't have Bacchanal and Lackery, because it is already heating up. The body languages are showing that people within the PNM are showing their true colors, their disdain, their disgust, their hate in some instance, while they are trying to show a united front. As a political science, I know better than that. All your house on fire, the fire blazing, and it have enough water in the pipe to out it.
But I do think that the PNM has acknowledged
that they did wrong.
Because see this big word, this R word, not Rowley, rebuild? I think they understood clearly that something broke down.
Right.
And so if the PNM themselves can admit through using the word of rebuild,
why is still there though?
Why are we, and I want to also say that an internal election is a good thing for political organization. It allows the political party to reflect and reset if
and
need
the members, that is how the members of these parties hold their leaders accountable.
And if it is things get hasty or intense, that's good. And I want to know, I want to see, and I know that a lot of persons like to say they're washing their linens in the public.
Isn't that transparency?
That's transparency.
Is people's business. That is the people's national movement and the public's business. Because
we want to know
also
what is going on.
That is not washing their dirty linen, you know.
It is not.
That is knowing the PNM or the UNC or any political party does not belong to the people in the PNM or the UNC or any political party alone.
Because they want everyone's votes.
Correct. It is everybody's business.
And I will be commenting, and I don't want nobody come and tell me, Chris, you're fasting out of places.
No,
you're young.
the Privy Council said.
You're a PNM member. Well, they shouldn't have no say.
The Privy Council said.
People do say that nonsense.
Yes. No, Carrie.
Because
the
you know what?
highest court of the land said in a judgment that what happens in any political party, as Shane rightly said, is the business of the people. Because they are vying to govern the country.
Correct.
And don't tell me that I cannot have a say in your internal election, because I know very well you're coming to my for your vote.
Let me just get this voice note here. Let me get this voice note going here.
Hi, Carrie.
Hey,
Carrie,
man,
to
what's
the last caller that still think he campaigning when the elections are already finished. To him, I must say, all well good, sir, but at the end of the day, as corrupt as they are, they got the mandate with the majority of seats. So, at the end of the day, you campaigning still for a lost purpose. You understand? And within the 10 years that PNM was in office, why wasn't somebody from the UNC jailed? You understand? You continue to spew your rhetoric. as if you're still campaigning. Well, I know the licks is bad, but at the same time, wipe your wounds, lick your wounds, and step to the side. Shift to the side. You understand? Shift to the side.
All right, Ramon. Thanks so much.
Civil society has a role to play in all of this.
Course.
And I will say, as an objective commentator, that there is enough evidence to show that when the UNC is in government, civil society is bold and audacious about holding the government account.
Oh, yes, all the time.
But many of those groups
are silent when
are
the PNM.
very silent when the PNM is in government. So I call upon all of them to be as loud as they want to be, but let us be objective about our criticism.
Let's take this call.
Everything that is said.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to We the Youth.
Afternoon.
Welcome to the youth.
Hey.
I'm a little elder than the youth.
Hey, Barataria, what's up? Talk to us.
I'm there. Tend to somewhat disagree with the political analysis. Because, and please allow me, in the local election, the UNC gathered the total amount of votes. They didn't win, but they had the largest amount of votes. And they said to us, they won. They didn't win the election, but they won the support of the majority of the population. So when they are saying to us, they had the support of the population even though they didn't win.
You have about 20 seconds again for me, Barataria.
Oh, God.
All right? Yeah. We coming up to 5 o'clock. And we had to close off.
I'll call back because when you...
No, when you call back, they wouldn't be here because they're finishing at 5.
Well, I don't agree with the political analyst views that 1.4 million people, with 1.4 million people didn't vote, or 1.5 is a percentage of that, which is 54%, which is about 500,000 people. Right? And if you take away children underage and XYZ, and you take away the 100,000 people, the support of the UNC is about 300,000 people. They don't have the support of majority of the population, even though they have the largest seat. And that is why today they cannot appoint themselves to tell me when Parliament is going to be. Because they can't attract the wider support of...
All right, Barataria, thanks so much for your call.
With that logic, if the UNC doesn't have the majority of the population support, then the losing parties have even less
Wait, let me
support.
Let me break it down.
We have about 2 minutes again, all right?
Let me just break it down. 1, we have a complete population, including old people, young people, children, Trinidad and Tobago, 1.4 million people. Of the 1.4 million people, there are 1.154 million people over the age of 18, which makes them eligible to vote.
Right.
On election day 2025, 617,700 and change people voted. Of that 617,000, the United National Congress won the election with 335,000 and change votes.
And that was endorsed by the EBC, right?
Yes.
This is not Shane Mohammed.
No, this is EBC numbers that Mohammed had to remember. But at the end of the day, the 335,000 out of the 600 and something thousand is the majority votes. And then we have not added how much they got from Tobago, and we have not added how much they get from PEP and from COP and everybody else. The bottom line is the UNC won the election with the majority of votes cast on the day. And that is the point I'm making. So whether they... And the reason why they have not convened the parliament is that 1, the government has to form. 2, the opposition must be... leader must be appointed.
Yes.
And they have at least a 2-week grace period to put the frameworks in place for a ceremonial opening of the parliament. Because on that day, there will also be the election of a speaker and deputy speaker, a president of the Senate and a vice president of the Senate. So,
and these are important
You all
posts.
need to understand how the governance works and the government frameworks work. And I'm not telling you this by guess.
No, let me just cut you here, Shane, because I'm looking at our time. Would you all be able to stay back about 10 minutes just to wrap up after 5 p.m. news? Yeah. All right? What? Yeah? Before that, right? Sure. Okay, great. So, guys, when we come back after our 5 p.m. news, we will be closing up the discussion that we had today. And it's all about keeping the government and the opposition accountable after the elections. But continue sending me those messages via WhatsApp 306-1065. Let me see if I could read a message here quickly. Hey, Barataria, the PNM people was disgruntled and they stayed away. Who told them to do that? PNM lost the fair and square, so go home with that. All right. Our 5 p.m. news is next. And say go with that, yes? Go with that. We have our news coming up courtesy JTA Supermarket. So continue keeping it locked. Carrie VSA, and this is We the Youth. We'll be back.
Expression is who we are. Take control. The all-new Talk Radio. Freedom 106.5. Speak your mind.
This is Freedom 106.5 FM, powered by the TBC Radio Network, the nation's biggest and best network. Included sister stations Slam 100.5 FM, Sky 99.5 FM, Vibe City 105 FM, Singit 106.1, and 95 The Ultimate One. This is the 5 p.m. news, courtesy JTA Supermarket.
Good afternoon, I'm Doris Polo with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC Radio Network. Police are investigating a shooting in Laramine involving the daughter of a San Fernando businessman. Sources say the woman's Range Rover was shot at along the South Trunk Road at around 10 a.m. Officers of the Southern Division CID and San Fernando Police visited the area and remained at the scene up to midday. In a separate incident, a 25-year-old Pleasantville man was beaten and robbed during a home invasion yesterday. Police say the man was at his home around 1:20 p.m. when he heard a noise coming from the bedroom. On investigating, he found a stranger climbing through the bedroom window. The man reported that another bandit beat him with a piece of wood as they stole his cell phone and $1,500 before escaping. The president of the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association says the recent U.S. travel advisory is damaging to the island's tourism sector and totally unfair. Reginald McLean says the Level 3 advisory published on May 7th, which warns against travel to Trinidad and Tobago because of crime, terrorism and kidnapping, is based on issues mainly happening in Trinidad, but Tobago is paying the price. He says Tobago is safe, but being tied to Trinidad makes the island look dangerous. More than 24 hours after she was informed that the Police Service Commission lifted her suspension, Police Commissioner Earl Herwood Christopher is yet to receive her reinstatement letter. The Top Cops Attorney Senior Counsel Pamela Elder questioned why the delay in dispatching the letter.
It is shocking, it is scandalous, it is deplorable. I cannot find the words to describe the conduct of the Police Service Commission in not issuing this letter with dispatch.
This has been Headline News. Look out for another news update at the top of the hour.
And that was the 5 p.m. news on Freedom 106 Radio Network, the nation's biggest and best network. The 5 p.m. news was courtesy JTA Supermarket.
The best buys and best savings just got even better at JTA Supermarkets. Golden Grand Margarine, 227 grams, 3 for $19.99. Eve Whole Kernel Corn, 340 grams, 2 for $19.99. Creamy Lolly, 68 ml, 6 for $19.99. Fruta Cool Kids Juice Drink, 200 ml, 8 for $19.99. Holiday Tortilla Chips, 38 grams, 7 for $20. Swiss Peanut Butter, 500 grams, creamy or crunchy, $19.99. Swiss Chow Mein Noodles, 454 grams, 2 for $19.99. Kotex Overnight Sanitary Napkins with wings, 16 count, $19.99. Soft and Pretty Paper Towels, 2-pack, 2 for $19.99. Carlton's Choice Bathroom Tissue 12-pack, $19.99. Plus many more items. Specials valid until May 11th, 2025. JTA Supermarkets, where your total bill always costs less.
This is Freedom 106.5 FM. 106.5 FM. Your solution for current affairs and talk. Join the conversation today as we build a better nation. Insightful discussions and interviews on national progress, the latest developments in environmental, social, and governance, plus corporate social responsibility. Freedom 106.5 FM gives you a voice. Freedom to inspire. Freedom to change. Speak your mind with Freedom 106.5 FM.
A spelling-based game for school children 10 years and under.
Keep an eye on the clock, and this is the Spellbound Wheel.
Plus, your hive of 5 and 35 is...
And featuring your boy, Kirsty Illusionist.
It's on Mondays at 8.
Streaming live on Facebook and at cnc3.co.tt.
Reruns on Wednesdays at 4:25 p.m. and on Saturdays at 5 p.m. on CNC3.
Brought to you by the Ministry of Planning and Development, Pariah Fuel Trading Company Limited, Redoxitos Plus, and thebesttoys.com.
Tune in to Betterments with host Bass, Monday through Thursday, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. for a program that educates and is solution-based. Bass tackles the issues that matter to you, providing a platform to speak your mind and find solutions. That's Betterments with Bass, with a focus on education and resolution. This is all about making things better for you. You can reach us via phone and WhatsApp to share your thoughts and find solutions to the issues that matter to you. So if you want to make a difference and have your voice heard, tune into Freedom 106.5 FM and join us for Betterments with Bass, Monday through Thursday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Better for you. Only on Freedom 106.5 FM, where we believe that your voice matters. Power up your Saturdays with Carrie V's electrifying energy on Speak Your Mind Saturdays. Here, you're not just tuning in, you're transforming the show into a vibrant tapestry of opinions, laughter, and spirited debates. Get set for a day packed with the fun, the burning issues, and Carrie V's infectious personality. Join the fun, fuel the conversation, speak your mind. Saturdays with Carrie V on Freedom 106.5 FM. She is fun and engaging. It's Carrie V on Freedom 106.5 FM. Speak your mind.
Welcome back, guys. Just about 5 minutes away from 5, and this is We the Youth. Thank you so much,
Welcome
Rudy.
back. Yes, Carrie. A heated conversation. we're giving a lanyap of 10 extra minutes.
Lanyap, 10 minutes. So I know that's a kind of older people.
I know. Don't say that. It's
okay.
Trini taboo.
I tell
think
you
so?
now, when the election was, I don't care what nobody say. I love my politics.
Mm-hmm. You can see that.
I love my politics. I know my politics.
Uh-huh.
And I know my political science too. But you see me, I told a friend, I said, I ain't gonna lie, you know. You see, when this election done, I will have a election tabanka. You see them trucking their music? Watch me.
Party
Listen, I could dance to the 2025 and party the 2025 election music.
You're right about that. About that.
This one, all you can vex with me, I just give credit where it's due. When UNC win, everybody win. It was like a jingle. Listen, there's like a Christmas carol.
No, but Shane, you're right. A lot of commentators have assessed the two campaigns.
Yes.
And it was chalk and cheese.
Yes.
And I think, unfortunately, the PNM missed a lot of the narrative.
Yes.
And even in the delivery on the campaign trails, the UNC was able to connect with people, especially the ground people.
But you know what I loved about it as well? Even if you're a parent and you were not listening or paying attention to the campaign or involved in the politics, and you wasn't even sure you was going to vote, that when UNC win, everybody wins song, caught on to the children. So the children was coming, Mommy, Daddy, you're going to vote.
It was all over TikTok and social media.
So let's wrap up. I know our conversation. We need a part 2, Rudy. We need a part 2 in the conversation because persons want to get into the conversation and
but this is the important part of governance. It's the part after the vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
So guys, the topic today was our vote, our vigilance, right? I mean, we had to bring in some extra tangential topics because people need to understand what governance is really about. But we're here representing for the younger generations, for people who perhaps are not as apathetic, or to your point, Shane, earlier, the future is really theirs to inherit, right? They have more to lose or win by being involved. What is your call to action to them in terms of their role in keeping whichever government, it just happens to be the UNC in this case, accountable and on the ball? What you telling these younger people?
Critical thinking.
Okay.
You have to be a critical thinker. Yes, we like the Bacchanal. Yes, we like the Movelang. Yes, we like the Lanyap. All of those things, fine. I understand that. But when you have a platform, especially social media platform, you have to raise yourself above and go beyond and be able to think and assess critically and be part of a conversation that is constructive and not toxic. And I note I didn't say destructive, right? It has to be a constructive conversation, whether constructive criticism, whether constructive analysis. It must also be very critical. Critical analysis meaning you can weigh the pros and the cons, and you will be able to come up with an answer.
Look at some data.
Take a little read. Right? This applies to Masha Walker too. But the bottom line is you need to understand how to elevate your mind so that you could be part of the conversation, so you don't cancel yourself out. And because the conversation is that the young people, the society, we are informed. From the old and the young, the rich and the poor, everybody's on social media. Everybody has a phone in their hand, and they're using it. But what are you using it for? You're using it to talk a certain nonsense. If you don't understand how the system works, learn how the system works. If you don't understand how politics works, learn how it works. When I talk about there's 1.4 million people, that don't mean that it means that that's the whole population. But of that, there's a certain amount of people that is eligible to vote. Right? Yeah. Simple things. And one of the things is try to get your emotion out of your objectivity as well. Because I could have a conversation here and be speaking in this language and speaking broken language and in dialect to engage everybody, but in a different forum I would be a different personality because of the audience and the environment. Know your environment and know your audience, and know if you're talking old talk is for old talk by the standpipe, by the corner, by the parlor, wherever. But if you are trying to be a contributor to those that you want hear you, be critically, but also be a constructive contributor and use wisdom in what you're saying. That's my message.
But I mean, some people believe what they are saying or what they're even contributing to it is the truth and the fact and the light and the way.
Chris made the point earlier that in his ability, his maturity, he has been able to listen and accept objective facts and sometimes change your own opinion, Chris. So what would you say to your peers and even the alphas coming up? What is their role? Do they do as their parents did and say, well, nothing ever changes?
Well, I think, first of all, I think what you said is very important, to critically think and analyze and don't just be fed, sometimes headlines only. I've met a number of young people sharing around headlines, news articles, just the headline alone, the graphic with whatever it is. And then I messaged them. I was like, well, based on your comment, did you read the article? Like, well, no, I didn't. I was like, no, you need to read the article and then we go talk, because I will block you, because I don't like to have friends like that, right? Don't do that.
So the other point of advice, Chris, is be discerning about your friends.
But what I will say, so I want young people to be vigilant. Because
right.
Many of the persons who hold office today, and this is just the reality, they will not hold office forever. And public debt is something that we will have to incur at some point. So we need to get informed.
Among other things.
We need to get informed. We need to understand the operations. So I'll say get more informed, understand the operations, and get more involved. So it cannot be that you're social media banter and only. Cannot be that. Get involved. You have a member of parliament, work with them. It doesn't matter.
You have ministers of government, write them letters, councillors.
You have councillors, aldermen.
You have village council.
Council. Then in your school, you have a number of extracurricular activities that can,
influence
and upskill you into the
Yes.
spaces that you want to get into. Right now, there's the youth parliament, there's the all-female parliament as well.
Yes, the
So,
women's parliamentarians.
yeah, there's the Yes Leadership program. So there are a number
And many
of
civil society
I'll
organizations.
also say there's now a Ministry of Tertiary Education and Skills Training. Look at what is being offered to you and your age group.
Yeah.
Is it something that you think you're interested in? Maybe you may want to look at the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs. So get involved. Actually see what is going on. It is there. The information is there. Get out, get it, and get involved. And I want to also say, when the government of Trinidad, and government is not just UNC,
Yes,
people
you
don't
keep
know the
making
government
this
is opposition
point.
as well.
Yes.
When the government of Trinidad wins, I think all of us will win. And building Trinidad and Tobago is always going to take all of us and not some.
Yes.
Agreed.
Correct.
So, Carrie, on that note, as you know, We the Youth is produced in part by the Portal for Accountability and Representation for Trinidad and Tobago. Our tagline is, if you do your part and I do my part, then together we do our part to build a better Trinidad and Tobago. And I think, Shane, Chris, I really want to thank you all for being not just objective, but very candid and passionate about your positions. Because I think younger people need to learn to stick by their positions and be informed, as you said, Shane. And Chris, as you said, be open-minded enough to accept when the data is pointing you in the right direction.
Right.
Because that's the only way we can break the cycle. So continue following our social media handles, our part on IG, Facebook, LinkedIn. And we'll be back here, Carrie, for We the Youth again on Freedom 106.5 FM. We're getting ready to launch things like an MP tracker, a manifesto assessment guide,
nice.
and some other initiatives that we really are encouraging a lot of our other young professionals to get involved. As you know, over the We the Youth series, we attracted over 30 young professionals in different sectors. And there are hundreds, if not thousands of us out there. And it is our responsibility, millennials and down, to take ownership of our country and to ensure that public policy reflects the future that we want.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
So, well, I want to thank you guys for joining us. It was very heartfelt and I loved it. I must say that. I loved it. And apparently all listeners as well, because they're sending us all the messages. And for the callers who can't get the answer, tough luck next time for that. So I want to thank you so much, Dr. Shane Mohammed, and thank you so much, Chris Hossein, for joining us today on We the Youth. And hopefully we get a part two.
Amen.
When we want this part two, let me just put something in.
I think next time we have to do it in a boxing ring.
Well, I will win. I will win.
Wait.
I will win.
How you determine who will win?
No, I will win.
He's a boxer.
No, I don't have to be a boxer.
You don't have to be a boxer.
Right? Some people want a boxer and they box with 26 seats. Right? So,
Well, they would.
Some
people said it was a box drain government, so you know.
I will take box train and over pothole any day.
Oh gosh. Well, all right, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a good one. Have a safe afternoon, right?
You too.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much. So, guys, this was We the Youth. From 3 to 5 right here on Freedom 106.5 FM. Thank you so much going out to our guests and all the persons who sent us messages. Coming up next is our sports news at 5 p.m. So keep it locked for that.